Black people are still slaves today. Not in law, but in function. Slavery did not disappear. It changed form. When physical ownership became unacceptable, control moved into politics, ideology, and mentality. As a group, black people do not act autonomously. We react. We follow narratives given to us. We inherit positions instead of forming them. We do not collectively decide our direction. We do not decide our priorities. We do not decide our enemies. Those decisions are made elsewhere and passed down as moral truth. The community is politically reliable and socially predictable. That makes it useful. Useful for votes. Useful for division. Useful for identity politics. Useful as proof of moral superiority for people outside the community. Our history is not resolved, it is recycled. Trauma is weaponized and endlessly replayed, not to build anything, but to justify dependency and stagnation. Internal critique is not allowed to stand on its own. Any criticism that demands discipline, structure, or self-direction is labeled betrayal. That is how stagnation is protected. Look globally. Where black populations move, the same patterns repeat. Disorder, fragmentation, violence, dependency. Different countries. Different systems. Same outcomes. That should raise questions. But those questions are forbidden, because asking them threatens the narrative that everything is caused externally and nothing internally. A predominantly white political establishment, especially on the left, defines what black people are allowed to think, say, and prioritize. It tells us who to hate, who to blame, and what we are never allowed to question. The designated enemy is always abstract. The system itself is never the target. Since slavery formally ended, black people as a collective have not chosen their own framework. Authority has simply shifted from masters to institutions. Dependency is normalized. Failure is explained away. Nothing compounds. Leaders rise by managing emotion, not by building structures. Representation replaces results. Symbolism replaces sovereignty. In a globalized world, dragging the past into every interaction does not create justice. It creates resentment in people who did not cause those conditions and are told to inherit hostility by default. This is not an insult. It is not an appeal for sympathy. It is a diagnosis. A group that is shielded from harsh self-critique cannot evolve. A group that does not define itself will always be defined by others. Slavery no longer requires chains. It only requires a population that never fully takes responsibility for its own direction.